I know Brazil can be different for everyone, but for you, what is Brazil?
Brazil for me is a symbol of resistance and surveillance as a kid, because as many people, I was born and raised in poor communities. So Brazil teach me how to be strong and presented me some challenges that I thought I could not be capable for doing so. But actually I did, but it's not easy. So for me, nowadays that I live here safely in Germany, Brazil represents a memory that I wanted to let it behind. Of course, so there is some components, some elements that I bring with me in my heart, like my friends, my affections, my beloved ones, and my youngest son, which is still living in Brazil. But from my past as a teenager mother, it was a bit dark, but with some good outcomings out of this darkness. So Brazil is a very sexualized country and culture. It's normal. We see people dancing and listening songs with sexual contents, but speaking about this is still a taboo. So no parents will take your hands and explain how the babies are made. They think that this kind of job is for the professor of biology or the science teacher at the school. So there is no information for no one, especially if the family is religious. So this was my experience. Of course, it can have some exceptions. However, this is the way that I was raised. So no information about pregnancy or birth control or prevention or even the condoms. We could not speak about this at home. I knew through the subjective, but there is the illusion that this would never happen to me one day. This is my teenage thought at the time. And I saw many people getting pregnant close to me, but there is no belief from my person that this could happen to me actually, and that I would have to deal with this. Because once you get pregnant in a very early age in Brazil, you are considered a social pollution. So you're a bad influence for your youngest friends, for people that are around you somehow.
And you were 16 when?
16.
Have you seen any other teenagers who got pregnant, maybe among your friends or neighbors or in the community?
Yes, especially my cousins. So I come from a family which I have a lot of cousins that was living in the street nearby. So one of my cousins, she got pregnant very early. And at the school, there's always some cases that someone is pregnant in the neighborhood, and that later on it become kind of normal. And somehow it's a bit expected depending on the woman's behavior, because the teenage pregnancy in Brazil is totally female, it's not male. So if the woman likes to go and do the regular things for a teenage woman, like a going party and drink a bit, so the neighbors will speak and say, okay, this one I already knew that she got pregnant before. So the woman get a bad, very fame, but somehow it's already expected. But for men, there is no conversation about this topic.
Right. So you're saying you were from a religious family?
Yes, not religious, but evangelic... Protestant, I'm sorry. It's evangelic is a German word. It's evangelic.
Protestant family.
Yeah.
Okay. And your mother, did you have any conversation about it, about sex or about, what can happen?
Zero conversation. Yeah. So when I was very young, I was going to a school to learn basic skills on informatics. There I knew the father of my son. He was a teacher there. And of course he was not a virgin anymore, and through the time we get close somehow, and the sex happened between us, and it was unprotected, and in my head and my thought it was like this, simple like this: oh, it was only one time and very bad, why should I be pregnant? So I found out that I was pregnant 4 months later. And when I when I lost the virginity, I took some courage for speaking to my mother, because this is a big taboo in Brazil as a Protestant. And if you go to the church, you should get married as a virgin,
Yeah.
like my sister did. So this is a big accomplishment. They totally ignore the biological factor that is a essential component of us as a human being. So I told it to my mother, and I think she just look okay, didn't say too much. So when I found out I was pregnant, it was a shock for everyone. So at the very first stage of the pregnancy, after 4 months, I was thinking about abortion. But abortion is forbidden in Brazil by law. And the law is based on some Christians' belief that your soul is going to hell if you have an abortion, or the life is given by God and you cannot cancel the process. And this is regardless your mental condition, financial condition, social conditions. The issue is bringing child to this world without any preparation. So in Brazil, it's very common to see kids begging at the streets too. Like this is something very normal to us. It's so normal that at some points we lost the empathy for looking to the child as a human being. This is sad. So I passed through all this. It was a complicated process, but I think I had some help on the way. Like I have some friends, some neighbors. When I gave birth, my son was born at the house in a hospital which was about 30 kilometers away from my house.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the help from my brother, who was working as a bouncer at the hospital, and moreover the mother of a friend from childhood. She was a nutritionist at the hospital. She was going there from time to time to visit me. So it was a complicated process. However, always had someone for helping me, and by any mistake, it was not people from family. It was always friends around that give me some support for make me feel human again.
So the teacher at the informatics school, when that happened, was it mutual, or do you feel like you were somehow manipulated into?
I felt abused. But this is a very sensitive topic for me. It's like he was older, he had experience. I was just a young girl, 15 years old. And nowadays he doesn't speak to my son. I raised him alone and I did everything alone. So for leaving the country, when we left for the first time, my son was 12 years old. Yet I need his signature, so I have to go against him on court. So for having the right for bring my son to Taiwan, at the very first moment he tried to forbid it, because in Brazil you have to pay money for the kids if you're a man. And I was searching for that after 10 years. So if he could not, my mentality was at that time, if he could not support my son emotionally, he has to do financially. This is the minimum that he can do. So I searched for him and there is no conversation. We don't speak nowadays. I don't know where he lives, what he's doing in his life. I know the basics, like he had another family, because I was searching for information for leaving the country with my son, and this was all that I know.
So did he give permission then for to leave Brazil?
It has to be juridically. He wanted to block my way to Taiwan with my son. He said in the court process that he had some psychological troubles because I forbidden him to see the kid, which is a lie. He tried to, because there is money involved. So when there is money involved and people are too greedy, they don't care about the main thing, which will be the child. So he didn't care too much. And when I get back to Brazil 2 years ago and I needed his permission for making a new passport to my son to come here to Germany, he just showed up there, signed the papers without saying a word. And my son met him for the first time and he didn't look in the eyes of my son. So in Brazil, some people, they are very messed up with the financial stuff and the kids. I'll explain you why. It's like if you have a couple who has some kids and the man normally has to pay some money for the woman, which has the right, the legal right for raising the kids. When the man doesn't pay the woman, normally this woman will forbidden the father for meeting the kids.
Child.
Yes, the child. So they connect the money with the right for seeing the child. So this is a bit tricky, right? And complicated.
Yes.
So they don't think about the child first. They think about the behavior. Okay, if you didn't pay the money this month for...
It's blackmailing, sort of. If you don't give me money, then you won't see your child.
Yes,
sort of a thing.
Yes. Okay. It's a kind of a trading coin. This is absurd, but that happened and a lot.
When you told your mother that, you know, a contact happened with your teacher, she, for some reason, it didn't surprise her. She didn't show any emotions, and for her she was okay with that.
She didn't show any emotions. She didn't. I think that normally if I had a daughter, if she said, okay, I had my first sexual contact, that happened, I would bring her to the doctor at the very first moment. If I haven't told about the condoms and things before, that was my case. So she just showed no emotions.
Did she ask questions?
No. It was like I come to you and say, I'm not a virgin anymore, and you just stay like you are and don't have any thought. She just, I remember that this day she just said something like, oh, I thought that it could happen, it had happened with your ex-boyfriend. I believe that it's the lack of information that she had on her own. So sometimes she would speak to me like this, okay, if you get pregnant, you have to take your children and go by bus. So going by bus at our hometown city is something horrible. Like you move from a place to another by bus. It's considered low social status. I remember she speaking like this, the only thing she spoke. Like, okay, if you get pregnant, many bad things will happen to you. And it was few conversation and out of context, probably because she didn't have this by her own too. So she was a pregnant mother. The first pregnancy, her husband died when she was 5 months pregnant of my sister. So the husband died in a car accident. And then my father that she met, and my father was married and she didn't know. This is what she told me. So she started to save many emotions or information for herself. This is what I imagine. I cannot say 100% sure, but she just filled her heart with some resentments and fears. So some fears she would pass through my sister and I, and other ones she would keep and just observe. Since she was too busy with her life, she tried to work, to have a social life. She tried to study a bit. She finished her high school only. And I think it was lack of time and intimacy too. It's like the avoidant attachment, when you don't have the capacity to go to your children and speak about your emotions, because you should be strong, you should be perfect, you should be an example. However, from the experiences, the children, they don't learn for what you say, but what you do. My mother, she was first time a mother at 19 years old, so also a kind of teenage.
Given that your mother is religious, when you got pregnant, how did you break it to her?
I don't remember actually how I said this to her. Of course, it should have a big discussion and confusion at home. But I don't remember how it was at the moment, because my pregnancy was so full of stress. I have eclampsia. I tried to get together with the father of my son for making a family, but with 16, 17 years old, it would be a bit difficult to hold the responsibility of a family. So I didn't manage it, and the guy didn't manage it neither. But we kind of tried, but no successful things were reached.
So you said that you got help from your friends, your brother, and other people, but you're not saying that you got help from your mother.
That I can remember, no. She was maybe helping with the basic stuff with the house, like food, for example. was basic. I think that she was helping, but when my son was born, I was 17, but in the day, my birthday of 18 years old, I got a job in the other day. So I left the house quite early too. And the friends and the community that was living toward me, they are helping not with financial stuff. Like when I arrived from the maternity, I saw the neighbors and my aunt, the one neighbor and my aunt cleaning the house. So the house could be clean for the baby because it was very simple house. There is no ready walls like this one behind, there's just the bricks and a simple floor, and this can bring a lot of dust. So they cleaned everything, and this is the kind of thing that my mother never would do, like cleaning the house for receiving the newborn. And when my son was sick, the neighbors, the one which has a car, I asked for help. He helped me to bring it to the hospital. And if I asked a can of milk or some diapers to the baby, I could get it from the people around. Sometimes even closest. I had to be at the hospital after my baby was born.
How long were you in the hospital?
I think it was almost two and a half months, more or less. Yes, a bit longer, yeah. Because it was before the pregnancy and after the pregnancy. And my son, he was born in March, and he was supposed to be born in the end of April, in the beginning of May. So we have to make a cesarean surgery before the day, otherwise he could have some problems, and me too.
Okay, so they did C-section around what months? A week?
7 months ago.
What did you feel being pregnant at that age?
Frankly saying, I could not enjoy because I was feeling very shy. I feel ashamed for being pregnant. It's like something was done to me and I take the blame, for going outside and for being with friends. So most of the time I was isolated on my own spaceship, on my little world, doing my stuff. I managed to finish the high school, but even going to the school in the very last year, I gave up because my feet were too swollen. I was too big because of the eclampsia already, so I was feeling bad. But the main component at that time for going back to the school was feeling shy. So it was few time that I remember to enjoying actually the pregnancy, the belly. I remember one day before my son was born, I remember the doctor come to the room and say, okay, tomorrow we will perform a cesarean section on you. And then there is the nurse, she comes with some cups of water, and by accident she let one fell on the ground, and when she fell on the ground I felt Davi moving in my belly in a way that he got scared. It was when I have the notion, oh, there is someone here, I have to take care of a child. So was when I have some click inside my brain, and I realized that I had to take care of the child, and I think I became a mother in that day, one day before that my son was born.
Wow. You're saying you were sort of embarrassed to go to school to see when your friends, schoolmates, and in your neighborhood, people found out that you were pregnant. How was it perceived? Did you feel any changes in relationships and communication with others?
For sure I did. And I kind of fake in the happy family, that I was trying to do, because since I was pregnant, there is no way out. We have to perform to see the best that we can get from this result of being pregnant. However, I felt many people going away from me. There is some parents of my friend that forbidden my friends to go along with me because I was a bad influence. So during the pregnancy, I lost many friends. Let's say I lost, because I don't believe we lose friends. Just figure out the one who are the true friends. And the one who were kept, normally most of them, they were male friends. And the people were making fun when we go hang out together, saying that they could be the father. So it's like a teenage stupid joke. So yes, few of them they kept, but normally the mother and the parents of my female friends, they will not let them hanging out with me.
What were your like plans for the, you were graduating from school, right? You were finishing your school. What plans did you have?
I didn't have too many, because when you finish, and especially if you're coming from a poor community, you have to work. But my dreams from all the time was seeing the world. I didn't say, okay, now I finished the high school and go abroad, because I didn't have this possibility financially. But I dreamed to go to the university. But in Brazil, only 11% of the population has access to the education, higher education.
Okay.
This data is from 2014, 15, that only 11% of the population, in agreement with the Brazil census, will have access to the higher education. So I wanted to go to the university and maybe have the possibility to travel the world. But I learned, especially from my mother, that university is something for rich people, because a public university in Brazil, they are few of them, and the education is a market, because if you paid for good education during your basic years of school until the high school, actually you manage to go to the public university. But if you are studying in the public school that is considered weak, which was my case, it's difficult to go to study a course that is considered good. For example, I studied my bachelor in international relations, that is considered an elite course in Brazil. First is medicine, second is law, and third is international relations at the time. And I had this dream, international relations, maybe learn about the world and do something about it. So I managed to do a government test. I got a scholarship that I had to pay almost nothing for my education in Brazil, and I finished in a private university. So Catholic university, I think it's popular here too. I'm not sure, but the Catholic university normally has in many countries. So I managed to finish my bachelor, and before I go into the bachelor, I had no idea how life would go, how I could develop myself, or how I could have some dreams that actually was reachable, because everything that was around me, or which I dreamed about, the phrase that is echoing in my head until nowadays is, this is for rich people. Or who do you think you are? This is for rich people. That's what I learned. So I had to overcome this kind of thoughts in order to feel myself capable enough for saying, okay, you deserve to go to the university. This could be considered the basic stuff, because in Brazil it's a bit different. Here in Germany, if you don't want to go to the university, you have the technical education. You learn how to cut the hair, how to fix the car. And in Brazil, no. There is no such a thing. You go, you are in the hands of gods, like people say. I thought that my life would be over, that I could not, I even don't think about studying or traveling anymore and get to know different cultures. However, in agreement with my son was developing, he was growing, I was growing with him. So I'm used to say that he was my best teacher until nowadays, because I saw his first steps and I saw me giving my first steps too. I got a job in a call center, which was better than the first job that I had before, when he was very baby, like 5 months. I was working at a gas station filling car tanks. Later on I got the second job, the job was good enough, because I didn't have to fill the car tanks anymore. And he was growing up, and in agreement he was growing up, I was also getting my autonomy. Okay, now that he is a bit bigger, can get back to the high school and speed up the process and finish. So when I finished my high school, he was, I don't know, 7 months, 8 months. Cannot remember exactly, but it was like this. He was growing up and I was growing up too. So in agreement, he was developing. I was also developing new dreams, because I wanted all the best to him. So I felt stronger. There are days that I wake up like 5 in the morning for getting to work at 6. I was crying inside the bus. Okay, I cannot take it anymore. But then I remember I had this small being at home that was waiting for being fed, that was waiting for being cuddled, for receiving some love. And then I found out, okay, I have to do it. This is an obligation. So it's not for me only, it's for him. So I started to work harder. So it was the same when I managed to go to the university, because I was working and going to the university and barely didn't have time for him. But sometimes I was just alright in doing something at my work. Okay, it's for him. I should do it better.
Probably this is a naive question, but why did you have to work when you had a newborn, practically?
Because I have no one to feed me. My mother, she kicked me out of the house when I was pregnant. When my son was born. My mother, she learned about violence. You know, since she's from the northeast of the country, it's regular that the kids, they get spanked by the parents. You know, and this time I was just my baby here, and my mother said that she would spank me and the baby. And then I left the house. I had my friend. The situation was a fight we had. It wasn't a misagreement. It was not I come back home with the baby and she kicked me outside of the house. It was later, because we discussed it. We have some problems. So the relationship with the mother was always a bit complicated. So the time passed through. I was at the house until the baby was 9 months. And then I managed to get out and go to find my way in life. Before I moved to a house from a friend, which is living beside her house. So he's my friend Beto. He just welcomed me there with the baby, and I was 17. So then I was 18, short after, and I found a job and I stayed there for a bit longer, and then managed to find my own place. It was a very small place, but it was mine. It was my peace, and the babies too, of course.
How did you find a job?
I'll tell you, it was like this. I managed to make a very bad CV because I started to work as a practicant. I was 15. So I printed. My friend gave me some money so I could print this CV, and I carried the baby and go to the places to give it to everyone or anyone that I could
With
meet.
your baby?
Yeah. And at this time I was bringing this to the gas station, and by coincidence the owner of the gas station was there. He looked at me, okay, so I want to work, and I say yes, I need it. And then he invited me for working there. It was some process that it was very quickly, and I was lucky because he was there filling his own tank. He was the owner of the place. I think that me being with the baby was letting him touch it. So he let me to work at his place.
Did you have a daycare?
No, there is a kind of a kita.
Okay.
I don't know how to say this.
Sort of like a nursery, daycare kind
Yeah,
of thing?
this was connected to the church in the
Okay.
city. I was living in Samambaia Sul in Brasilia. And the value was very, very low. And sometimes when we didn't have the money, we could let the kids there for free. Of course, they was not could carry the kids there because there are a lot of kids. But they helped me a lot when I needed for working. It was very early at the gas station. I lived with him there. Actually, sometimes my mother would bring him there, not all the time. She helped a bit in this process. After I was living alone, after it was easy, she would take the baby and bring him there, and I would pick up him there when I get back from the job, because I was going to work at the 6 in the morning. I started to work, and I left at the 14, 15.
What was it like to be a mother at that age? What is it like? I mean, I became a mother when I was like 30, but what is it like to become a mother when you're 7? You were 16, right?
Yeah, I was pregnant at 16. Actually, I didn't have the realization, you know, I acted by surveillance. Like when I was saying in the very beginning of the video about Brazil, I learned how to survive. So I survived the motherhood, and later on, I learned how to enjoy a bit. Right now I can say, surely, I enjoy a lot. But in the past was the instinct of surveillance and the responsibility for making someone else be a surveillant too.
Yeah. So it was more like just going by the flow, just learning on the go and just trying to survive.
Learn by doing.
Yeah, learning by doing.
So first I finished the school, and later on I got the job.
But then you already have given birth when you finished school.
Yes, I gave birth, I finished the high school, and then I started to work right after.
Okay, and so now you have your baby, you're working at a call center, right? At what point did you realize that you have to get a degree?
It was when I had this job at call center, because we have people from many different social backgrounds, including my ex-husband. I knew him there. So the social class was different. So my husband had started to speak about his degree. Many people around me start to speak about it. And I like it somehow, the idea of studying and be someone in life. This is the phrase you use it in Portuguese, be someone. Because without the degree, you're doing nothing. Your social status is also related to the education. So when I was working there, I found out, oh, maybe this can work for me too. Now I'm capable for having a degree. So after the job in call center, I got a job in a laboratory of a clinic analysis, which belonged to the family of my ex-husband. And when I was there, I saw people doing exams and stuff, and I look, oh, maybe I should go to the university and learn something here for enhancing my salary. That was my thought. And for learning something new and enhancing my salary, the university for me at that time has only these pupils. And then I asked for actually I was offered with this opportunity from the father of my first husband. He said, okay, if you get a scholarship, I can pay you. At the time it was equivalent like a 50 euro now. It was very cheap. And then I managed to get a scholarship and went to study business management. It was my first university. But since I have finished my high school in a kind of a speed up process, of course, there are many things that I didn't know, so I felt very low. I felt very bad because I could not follow. I felt stupid, but no one told me that it was kind of normal. It's part of the learning process. So I let it go. Say, okay, I cannot do it anymore, so maybe I will think more what is suitable for me. So I listened from a friend. He was studying international relations. And then I learned, okay, this can be okay for me. This I like learning another language, because since a very young age I liked the guitar, and all the songs that I like was English. And I was thinking this would be cool to travel the world, to speak another language. And the idea that my father is foreigner was also something that fed my soul, not for searching for him, but maybe for knowing the place where he's coming from, that I could have come from too, or something like this. So I decided to go to international relations after I saw propaganda in the TV that the government was offering scholarship. However, the test was very, very hard. So I say, okay, I'm going to do it. I seated my ass when I had free times, even in lunchtime of the job, and I managed to make the test and pass. So I got the scholarship and went to study international relations. And when I got there, then I got fascinated. Feeling a bit down, of course, because most of my colleagues, they have a different background than I. When I arrived there, it was normal to listen, oh, I was spending vacations in Spain, or I was at the Disneyland, and I was looking, oh, this is so cool, so nice. And we made the comparison, I did the comparison without considering the background. So when I listened to the stories of people traveling the world and doing amazing things and helping with humanitarian help, assistance, and then I got enchanted. Said, okay, this is my thing, I'll finish this. So that's how I managed to go to the university and feeding the dreams.
And you mentioned you have another son. What is it like to study and to have a child?
It was
How
chaos.
did you manage?
It was completely chaos. But
Yeah?
as I said, it was sweet chaos, because two people raising children are better than one, I believe on that. I don't diminish the possibility that one person can do for a child, because I did it by my own. But when I got married first time, I got some assistance from my husband, from his family. So it has more people, because I didn't have family, I didn't have no one for help me. And then I got help from his family in the sense that they liked my first child too. They welcomed at the time, they made something good with my child and with me, and I gave permission for receiving this kind of help. So sometimes I had to go to the university, but I was studying at the night. So my husband got back from the job, he would stay with the kids, and I go to the university. So we shared the time with them. It was.
So during your second pregnancy, did you have preeclampsia again, or?
No, it was everything okay, including the day that my son was born. I programmed him to be born in December, so I could get back to the university in February.
Ah, okay, so it was a planned pregnancy.
It was a planned pregnancy, so everything happened okay. Like he was
according to the schedule.
Yeah, going to the schedule. This time we did it going to the schedule, but in the end of all, it didn't work accordingly. Like right now, my son is in Brazil. I wanted to raise him here in Germany, at least partially, or in Taiwan too, so he can have the same opportunity that I had and that my oldest son had, because I think this international contact is something so precious. It make you to learn about things that you don't have idea. So I wanted to give it to my youngest son this opportunity, but right now I have to wait him to be 18.
And how old is he now?
He will be 13 in December, 15.
Okay.
He's almost 13.
May I ask, why did you divorce?
Because we were too young at the time, and I was too greedy from my part. The part which concerned on me, on my responsibility, on my part of the divorce, was because I always had this strong desire to know what is different from what I knew in Brazil, because I had the feeling of non-belonging, and this is a very important feeling for every human being, the sense that you belong somewhere. So I was raised in a community that I don't feel that I belong, and of course I wanted to find my group. I wanted to see the opportunity that I had. And my husband, he was raised for staying. Like his parents, they are married over, I don't know, almost 40 years. They will never leave the hometown because they made some money. They got there in the very beginning of the city. So we had this kind of differences that I wanted to explore, and he wants to stay. And for me, exploring with the kids would be amazing. I was with my eyes full of enchantment and shining when I imagined a life going abroad with the kids. And he was the one calling me crazy. Okay, you cannot do this, never. And I was a bit rebellious, because when someone come to me and say, you cannot do this, never, especially if never was involved, I want to prove the opposite. I want to go there and do it. I stayed, I started the job at the university, and I left this job at the university, the private, and started a job in a public university. I was there until I just look around me and say, okay, what now? What do you do about this life now? Because I felt stuck at it, like working 44 hours per week, 8 hours, and having no life, and having to realize that I still have the kids, but I could not be with the kids because I was working too much. And then I had the idea to apply for a scholarship in Taiwan, because in the first university I was working with international corporations. So I learned a bit how to apply. Every student that I managed to send abroad, I just imagined myself. Okay, nice, this guy is going to Germany, the other guy is going to Ireland, this guy is going to this place. And I was looking there feeling like a child when you see a sweet thing and say, oh my God, I wish I could do the same. And then I stopped after I changed the job. Why I can't do it? I think I can. I know I have good friends now. They are professors, they are doctors. They can write recommendation letters on my behalf for recommend me to the foreigner universities, until I got the opportunity to go to Taiwan. And it was beautiful.
Why Taiwan?
Because of my father and my nationality too. Like I'm a half Taiwanese by blood, and I always listen, Taiwan is nice, Taiwan is this, Taiwan is that, and I never have been there. And I want to connect, I want to find this part of me that I felt that was lost. And when I got there, something magic had happened, because I looked to the young girls going to the school, look like all then in the bad mood, and walk and look into the feet, and I saw myself. And then I felt the feeling that I told you I was searching for, the feeling of belonging. Even when I couldn't speak the language, I didn't know about the food, the culture yet, but I look around and I said, this is nice. I should have come here before. I think I wish I could be true Taiwanese, like 100%, because I'm mixed. But anyway, this half part was good enough.
Feel you belong in Taiwan more than in Brazil?
Yes, nowadays for sure, yes, because I managed to make my connections. I met very good people there, and Taiwan, as I wrote today, is a source of a good contacts and connections. Not only contacts, okay, I know you here today, and tomorrow we can talk if there is some business involved. But the connection is people from the heart. Like the teacher of my son in Taiwan, she helped me to search for a flat when I got divorced there. And she is still like a family for me. When I was there this time, she welcomed me with a new place. And she said by herself, okay, we are your family in Taiwan, and I really feel like this. And I had other friends too that I spent 1 year without meeting, but when we meet, it's like we never stop to spend time together. So in Taiwan, I feel more strong connection than in Brazil in the nowadays.
When you moved to Taiwan, did you know that your father is in Taiwan? Was he in Taiwan or?
I knew that he was there, but I didn't know where.
Oh, you had no contact whatsoever?
No contact.
Did you have any wish to find him?
I had, because I published an article in the Taiwan news for helping to find him.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It was a big thing, but again I was supported by some friends. It was a crazy idea, but it worked. So I could get his attention toward this and the attention of international media, because I just figured out I'm not the only one. I listened from many people after I published this news that they also had a Taiwanese father that they never met. And they never managed to get the Taiwan citizenship or get to know the island, nothing. So there is this girl from Australia. She told me that her parents, they had one night standing, but her father was Taiwanese. Her mother knew, but she wanted to start the process too. Nowadays, I don't know how it's going, her process, but it's something that inspired other people. Sometimes you just need one crazy people for doing something to open the path, and some people will follow. So that was my intention too, because of course for going to the media I had to show my face. I feel shy for showing my social status, social media, what I was doing in Taiwan. It was a bit complicated, but until nowadays I'm getting good, I'm collecting good results of this action from me, because now I did the DNA test. I was going to foundation which provided the lawyers for me. Since I was a student, I didn't have the money for pay. They provide me the services for free. For example, if you have some problems with your Chinese name, you can easily change it until 3 times if I'm not wrong. So if I have a problem like a debt in the bank and I don't want it to be recognized by my name, Monica, and now I want to be called Luisa, it's possible. And if my name was Monica written in a certain way, and I want to be called Monica in this way, I just can change the Chinese characters. So my father, he changed his name twice.
What? Do you know why?
No, I don't know the reasons.
Okay.
So finding him was difficult. And then I published the news with the information that I was searching for him. And I found his information but by one person that sent me his data. And for protecting this person, I just deleted my Facebook account and everything. And it's okay, no one will never know who gave me the data.
But why did you have to delete your Facebook?
Because I want to protect the person and deleted all the people that was in the Facebook. Like people that was trying to help me to find my father, or people that may had some information about my father. So my Facebook page account was shown together with this news in the Taiwanese media.
Okay, so that if someone knew some information, they could contact you through Facebook.
Yes, they would contact me through
and
Facebook.
Someone already had some information about your father, and he contacted you through Facebook.
Yes.
And then you had to delete your Facebook, but why?
I deleted the messenger and for not having the possibility to make any link to this person. You know, because he gave me not only the true name of my father, he also gave me his ID, because the identity number you cannot change in Taiwan. So if the identity number also got his address in Taiwan and everything else, like I got everything that I needed, and this person saved me literally for going on with my process in Taiwan. So once this person asked me, okay, don't never tell about this to anyone, and I told him, for your safety, I'll delete this Facebook account, this messenger, and we will never talk again. That's it. And then I deleted, and everything is fine.
Have you then met your father?
I met him on court.
Only on court?
Only on court, yes. Only
Why
once
were you in court?
Because he didn't want to sign the papers for giving me the Taiwanese nationality, which is a right. So the story was, I have to find my father and I have to fight for his recognition for getting the nationality.
You have applied for citizenship in Taiwan, but when you found out who your father was, did you offer to meet?
Yes, before I did. Because before starting the whole court process, I wrote him and say, okay, I'm going to Taiwan. When I told him, he was mad. He said that I would not find a job there, that I work in a construction mart as a house worker, which I think it's okay. And he said that the economy was bad. He tried to block me all the way to Taiwan, saying that Taiwan was a very bad place to be. And after I got there, I contacted him again and said, okay, now I'm here, I'm a master's student at this university. Now I want to speak with you about the nationality process. Do you want to do this in the Taiwanese way, easy way, we sit and have a tea, or in a difficult way? So since he didn't answer me, I understand that he wanted to go in the hard way.
Mm-hmm. So you've never met, so you only met him in a court and you
Yes.
never actually talked to him?
No, never.
Okay. Do you understand him? Do you somehow what do you feel towards your father?
I don't understand his language very well, but I understand very well empathy. So when I saw my father, I saw a complete aloof person trying to get rid of a responsibility that he had. So it doesn't matter his age. So when he showed himself in the court, by the way, we have 2 audiences before, and he didn't show himself. First audience, he sent his first ex-wife, which he has some children with her. And then he presented himself in the 3rd audience, court audience, as a sick man, old man, trying to make himself as a victim. But considering my story, I just look at him, okay, you can get out of this too. So that was my thought in the audience. And what he did, my son was with me in this audience. After the audience was done, he took like $300 from his pocket and gave it to my son so my son could cut the hair. This was very offensive, but I didn't see when he did it. Because my son, he has long hairs, the oldest one. And then the lawyer come to me and say, okay, you should calm yourself down. And found out the positive side of this, because he recognized your son as a grandson. And then I got mad twice, okay, not with the lawyer, but with his behavior. Like, he gave some money to my son after the court audience, but he didn't look at my face.
Right, so do you think that he didn't want to, get involved because of the financial side of it? Or do you think because this story got so much attention in the media?
I think both.
Okay.
But after the court audience, everything that he was saying, that he has no money.
Okay.
And I told him since the very beginning, I don't need your money. I have a job here. I'm a PhD student. So I rose all my social positions for telling him that I didn't need a father at 32 years old. The only thing that I wanted was the nationality. And he made everything difficult. Still making everything difficult. But now the process is done. and all that I have to do is get back to Taiwan and live in there 1 year.
Tell me about your experience going through C-section you were at the Brazilian public hospital, right? What is it like to give birth in Brazil?
It was hell. It was a hell because the obstetrical violence is something very common in Brazil. So we don't have a proper conditions. Actually, the public hospitals, they are very precarious, that's the truth. So I was in a room with a lot of women that was in preparation for delivering babies in a regular way. So it was normal to see the bed sheets full of blood. They were screaming in pain, and somehow the nurses or the nursery technicals, when they come to you, they look and say, okay, if she's screaming, it means that she's still okay. So it's something like this. And one of the technicals, they come and try to induce a regular birth on me. And I told him, okay, the doctor said it will be regular. And then she completely ignored me and put something on my medicine that was hanging.
Dripping, yeah, infusion.
Tripping. So I think it was a miracle because I didn't felt nothing. That medicine was supposed to give me some contractions. And I just turned myself in my side and I slept. And they were complaining that I was not feeling pain. So later on, another technical come and washing my parts with some products. And I said to him, you are hurting me. And then he looked at me and said that the head of the baby passed there and it hurt you even more. And then I told him, okay, but my delivery will be C-section. And he even didn't say, I'm sorry. I remember his face. Just looked at me like this, like a very indifferent, and left the room. And I was left there feeling in pain, feeling helpless, because you cannot do nothing. So technically it should be a very special moment in the life of any woman. But I believe that regardless your pregnancy was planned or not, if you're giving birth in a place like this, you generate a lot of stress. You cannot get out of this because you feel the vibe, the environment of people, the way they treat you. So after I gave birth, I was at a unit of intensive treatment and then I have a hot shower. And after a few days I was going upstairs, I could not walk in properly. I had to go shower in the cold water, and it was the weather was a bit colder, and they just look at this is normal. So it's take care of yourself. And I was thinking maybe I could, I don't know, be without showering or do something because it was cold. No, you have to go, and there is a nurse looking at you, look like you are in a prison. You have to go, and you have to
have a cold shower.
Yeah.
With C-section, you had just surgery.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're saying that you were planned for C-section and you were waiting for your C-section in the hospital.
Yes.
And then someone came to induce you by mistake because you were supposed to have C-section, but then you were given a medicine that was supposed to call for contractions.
Yes.
But you didn't, by luck, you didn't have contractions, and it could have been really risky because...
That's how things happen in Brazilian public hospitals. So they did a mistake not only once but twice with this medicine and with my washing processes. They even didn't know that you should wash a vagina inside for having a baby.
I didn't get it. I gave birth twice. I never washed inside my vagina.
Yes, this is crazy. They put some product there and I got mad about it. And there is a miscommunication between between the doctors, the nursery, and the technicals of nurseries. So it's three different people working together, and they didn't manage to communicate. And you're right, it's something very serious could have happened to me if I had felt the contraction, because my body was not ready. My son was inside me for 7 months, and normally a regular pregnancy it goes 40 weeks. So Yes, it was kind of crazy.
And your second birth, was it C-section or natural birth?
C-section, it was very smooth. I just said to the doctor, okay, this day I'm going to the hospital, you have a time for packing your stuff, and we performed the C-section, and everything was fine. So at least this part of giving birth second time, the part of giving birth was okay in terms of medical stuff. It was very organized, everyone was synchronized to do everything on time. I didn't suffer any violence, obstetrical violence, because it was a private hospital. So the conditions was much better than the first son.
So why did you choose C-section? Because of the first C-section, or was there any other reasons?
Because I was super afraid. I was scared. I think it's related to the first son and the violence, the obstetrical violence. So I even don't thought about delivering naturally. I just thought, okay, I have a C-section. Since I was afraid that someone could hurt me or that something could happen, like in Brazil, when you have a natural delivery, if it's too difficult of the head of baby pass through the vaginal channel, they will cut you there, and it's completely normal, and this is not normal for us regular human being, but in the hospital they treat you as nothing. So I was afraid of this cut that they do so the head of the baby can pass through. This was something that I was terrified about. And when I thought about it, okay, the second one will be C-section, so at least I know what to expect in the post-surgery.
And there's no problem?
If you're paying if you have a health insurance, everything's fine. So I had the health insurance, and the doctor also receives some money if he performs the cesarean birth.
Mm-hmm. So because there is a financial remuneration for C-section, there's no problem doing that.
Yeah, no problem.
How much does it cost in Brazil to give birth?
I don't know for sure, because the family of my husband was paying some health insurance, because here in Germany, no, it's public. In Brazil, it's private. So you pay, at that time, you pay like 100 reais, it would be almost 10 euros per month. And then you go to the doctor and do your consultations that are necessary, but you have to pay privately. Normally, if you work for a company, the company will pay this for you. But if you don't have a job, you pay this privately, and the price of this depends on your age. The older you get, the expensive it is.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that your second son is in Brazil. Why is that? Why is he not with you?
Because I could not manage with his father for bringing him when I was traveling abroad. It was a difficult process. I know that I have cultural differences when I move out of Brazil. However, I wanted to give him the opportunity, so I told to his father, all right, if he's not going to leave, maybe visiting, but his father didn't give permission. He was insecure, feeling insecure that I would just kidnapping my own son and kept him in Taiwan or here in Germany. Yeah, unfortunately.
So he's refusing to let him go even for a short period of time?
Yes.
In the court?
So then, because of this, I had to go on court. So what had happened is 2 years ago I got back to Brazil, and since the pandemic outbreak, he told me that I could not see my son because of COVID-19, that I could transpass this to my son because I was coming from Europe. And I told him that it was an absurd, so we had a shared responsibility. However, since my son is living with him, he blocked the contact, so I had to go on court to have the right for seeing my son. So I got back to Brazil in this year for seeing him. And it was always like this. I was getting back at least once per year, and at that time from Taiwan was a bit difficult because the ticket is very expensive. But anyway, I managed to go, and every time I was going there I found out this problem. Like, I'm trying to take the passport of my son since I left Brazil in 2016, and he doesn't want to give his signature. So he used the power of his authority as a father for blocking my son for going to travel to new places, to get to know new places. So in the end of all, I went against him on court. Unfortunately, the process could not go on. I lost the first batch, let's say like this. And then I asked my son, because for me his opinion is very important, so would you like to proceed with this, because my own son asked for that. So when he grows older, he figured out that I put some effort to try to bring him here and show him a different lifestyle, different way of living, and bring more culture in his life, because in Brazil he's living in a bubble. Since the country is too diverse in economic issues, it's very normal to have a very rich place in one point of the city, and 15 kilometers away the city is completely changed and the environment is completely different. It's dangerous. So I think this is a unique feature of Brazil, maybe at least from the place I was raised. And what happened is I lost the process, and now I will not put more effort on that, because the father could realize that it's not a problem with me, it's not me being a bad mother, but the child which has some opportunity that will be lost through the years. Like my son, he moved out, the first one is 12 years old. Today he speaks Portuguese, English, Chinese and German, and is learning Spanish at the school. And in the world like we are living now, I think this is our basic skills, they are essential. So in Brazil, what he will do, what are the perspectives for staying? I think once you figure out you have other possibilities, it's nice to explore all of them, or at least if you cannot do it, you make space for the people that you can make space for them. So it was a bit sad, of course. I felt sad, and being a mother through the phone and through the internet is a challenging task, because I'm seeing my son raised without a sexual education like me, but when I look at his Instagram page, he's posting music with sexual content. I know that the conversations that he's having among his colleagues at the school, because sometimes he opened this to me, and at his house he's being raised by grandparents. Grandparents, they don't have energy for following those things anymore. And the father, if the father is not attentive, it's easy. When the child is 16 years old, doing wrong things like he did in the past. So when I knew my first husband, we had a lot of problems. Like, I don't think that even he thinks this is a positive thing and a positive way to educate the children. So I hope, I'm expecting that in the future he can do better with my son, with our son. And then I could do here in Germany, because here I'm still struggling, of course. The language is difficult. I'm going to the school daily, but I work from home. I could have all the possibilities to sit with him, to talk a bit about the sexual education, to teach him the basics. Okay, you cannot treat a woman like this, and make him learning the basics. Like in Taiwan, you have classes of household. Like the children, they are learning how to cut some tomatoes, how to cook, and they cook at the school. There is no employees at the school. They clean the bathroom, they clean the floor, they do everything. But in Latin America, I think this is a poor things from us. We teach that the man goes outside and earn the money, and the woman stay at home doing those things. And when the men come back from work, they can do whatever they please with the woman, with the house, and don't take care. So women, they are educated for searching for financial supporter, and the men, they are educated for searching for a second mom. So probably my son, if he is not well attentive and better educated, the path will be the same. Because even if he has financial stability is not emotional stability. Like nowadays, if you don't learn someone about emotional resilience and intelligence, how you can deal with yourself, and by consequence, how you deal with the other and with the world.
So what was the reasoning of the court to leave your son with his father? Normally they align with mother.
Yes, normally they are. I was on court for the right for seeing him and raise him here in Germany after I left to Taiwan. That's what I did. Because I wanted to bring him for seeing the places I was living before. It's not for living. It's just for introducing him little by little. Okay, this is Asia. Do you like this? In Asia we have this. In Asia we have a boba tea. In Asia we speak Chinese. Do you like this? If you like, you can stay with mom as long as you wish. It was the same with Germany. Okay, this is Germany. Here people, they like currywurst, they like beers. There is the Oktoberfest. Do you like it? If you like, you can stay as much as you want. If you don't like, you can get back home and feel better and go where you feel better. With your family, with your father, with your grandparents, or with me and your brother. This was the original idea. But the father, he forbidden him since Taiwan to go there by blocking the right of taking the passport, which is a basic document for traveling. So that's why I was on court. So the main reason was because I was blocked to see my son during the corona outbreak. And after I got back from Brazil this year in April, I got back to Germany. My son got the coronavirus Delta variant. So I was not even there. So he was suffering inside the room, losing weight. And he was told to be laying down in the bed. He could not stand up. He was treated like someone which was in the terminal state. And belief is a powerful thing for the mind. If you believe you are sick, you'll be sick.
Do you think the court can decide in your favor if you...
No, because I didn't restart the process again, respecting my son. He said it's
because he wanted to stay with his father.
He said, now I don't want this to go like this. I know that he's only 12. He doesn't have the right for choosing things and doing everything. But I decided to give him a break about it and wait. This is what I can do. So the plans now, I go back there to Brazil to see him. Like my next trip, I will spend some time together, but it's really difficult to start because the main allegation that I use in the process of the court is happening until nowadays. It's a parental alienation because the father of my son said to my son that I abandoned him. That now I have another family, that I don't care about him.
That's horrible.
Yeah, this is horrible. And now my son is saying, okay, you are coming here, so maybe we can spend days together, but I don't want to sleep with you at your house. We are coming here, but I would like to do this. And then everything that he wants now is some financial. Like, okay, I saw these nice shoes that I was looking, it was 100 euro. And for Brazil, this is very expensive. This would be the salary of some person during the month. And then I have to sit to him and explain that, okay, things doesn't work like this. You don't use the shoes for showing to the others. So you bought 4 shoes, are you a caterpillar? So I have to show him the basic things out of this consumption world, that the world doesn't start in the shopping malls and ends at the trash. No, he has zero ecological education because his life is prepared for that, for showing the brands that he wears. Like the brand is a sign of status, exactly. And the brands and the nice and fancy clothes. We are traveling to the southeast together, and I told him, okay, you're going with me. And he said that this year he didn't ask for any gifts at his birthday. He only asked for money so he could buy everything, clothes, all the money he gets. And I was thinking, me with 12 years, if I get some money, probably I'll buy some sweets or some toys. But now he's worried with his clothes, and he has a lot, more than he needs, more than one person needs. And this is basic education that I think he's not being taught well, because at his house people make a mess of education and scholarization. So they think that if they send the kids to school, that's it. You don't have to put any effort. They say to the kid, okay, you should eat well, but when you look at the parents is eating chips in the night. You should study, but the parents are playing video game or doing something. So the kids, they are mirror of us, of everything that we do. So that's why I think that pregnancy non-programmed can be a bit dangerous, but if you manage to do yourself, automatically you do with your kids too. Mm-hmm. That's what happened, at least with the one that had the opportunity to be raised with me all the time. The youngest one I still don't know because he's still young, so let's see, not that I do everything perfect, but I took out my hero cape and come to my son say, okay, I'm learning how to be your mother. Do you have any suggestions? I'm not perfect. And ask him, okay, how would you like this to be? I'm not perfect, I'm a human being like you. So by doing this, I'm showing my vulnerabilities. And this, in my view, is only when you are able to show your vulnerability, you can be strong too. So my vulnerability, showing and expose it to my son, and to my kids, actually to both of them, is a way for being strong too. That's what I learned through my life process.
But now you can talk as much as you want through like Zoom or calls with your son in Brazil, right? Or are there any limitations?
There is some limitations because he's not educated to speak with his own mother too. So sometimes I'm speaking to him, he's playing video game. Sometimes I'm speaking with him, he has to go to somewhere, so he's very avoidant at the phone.
Oh, okay.
And
but there are no legal limitations, or from his father's side?
No, there is no legal limitations. Okay. So the outcome of this process is now I can see my son 30 days per year directly when I'm there, and if I'm going to Brazil and spend a long time, I have the weekends, like a switched weekends. One weekend I can go, and the other one I can't. And this was like this before. So when I traveled to Brazil this year in February, I spent 8 weeks. From these 8 weeks, only 4 weeks I could see my son. 4 weekends, weekends. I had to make a choice because once you're born poor, you have to enhance your life. So I could stay in Brazil working at the university 8 hours per day. But I chose to keep my studies in Taiwan. This was my choice. And this is a choice that I have to forgive myself daily. Okay, I didn't abandon my son. I didn't have a family to support me. I didn't abandon my son. I didn't have the money for staying. I didn't abandon my job. My son, I didn't have my mental conditions good enough for staying in this condition that I was. So in Brazil, I developed many stress problems because of the job, because of trying too much to escalate in the society ladder. But in the end of all, it will not work. The more effort I put, it looked like it would be endless, that I could easily go to my 50s doing the same thing. And being just tired and having my health condition decreased through the years. So I chose to find a different lifestyle, and right now I feel satisfied, but I lost something which was very important for me. Hopefully I can redeem this when he's a bit older, because when he's 18 he will not need the signature of his father for traveling abroad. He will not need the permission for traveling abroad.
What would be your advice for someone who is now pregnant as a teenager?
Okay, this is not the end of your life, it's just the beginning. It's a hard path, but it's an amazing one. This is also what I could say to myself. When I was pregnant by myself, I would advise them to figure out that, okay, now you give up on the part of your life that is being only you for raising someone else. And of course, part of us should die so we can born in another shape. It's like born as a mother was what made me strong for keeping my life and doing what I'm doing nowadays and take some decisions.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.